Okay, let's do a quick review of today's morning session. Some very interesting chat was going on, and chat means basically I think through chat. Whatever I think, I either speak it or I either write it down. That's my process. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we did a lot of chat, and the process, I've shown you this video earlier, the H1 M5 method, and if you do it selectively and correctly, you can keep up 70+% win rate, because what you'll be doing is that you're only trading the very high probability, very clear signals only. You're monitoring only the chart at the end of the candle or something like that. So today, the pound dollar, what do we have? We have a strong move and sideways on overnight. So where are our levels? That's our level, one marked. So that's where we want the price to break out of. So that's the jailbreak, right? You want this to be broken, and then where do you want to exit? So this is where it's coming from, and then the next one is where is it going? So it's going to go most probably here, and as we can see, it's actually broken below that. But first, let's address that. So there was a very interesting situation on this. Now, I don't necessarily like all the way back, but that itself is a setup. When you have a significant, or probably the wrong word, let's call it's significant and it's obvious levels. So these obvious levels, like, multiple touches. When you have things like this, there is also another thing to look for, is that it is often retested. And that's that same concept that I explained in my yesterday 25-minute video, break and retest. In this case, let's go to that level. If I go to the 5-minute chart, what do we see? That's where the candle ends. So it's hit this level. What is this level? Let's go back. It's these levels. So what's it done is that it's broken this level, touched those levels, and then it's come back to this level and retested it. So let's go to the 15-minute chart. If you look at this, so on the 15-minute chart, that's the end of that candle, comes back, retests it, and creates a number 2 signal. So if you're trading the 15-minute chart, this would be a very good setup for you. 15, it did not hit 30, so you're still in this trade. But on the 5-minute chart, what's it done? It's done a 2-legged pullback. So one can argue that, what if you took this? Will you pay a rent? Yes, if I took this, I would pay a rent. But what I'm looking for in this kind of setup is that if I have this previous level, I want to retest of that. And that retest has happened here. Now, it would be nice to have a confirmation candle, which did not occur here, but there's a wick on this. And at the same time, it's not just a 2, it's a 2-legged pullback. So that's your low 1, that's your high 1. After that, this low is broken, so that becomes your low 2, and it becomes low 2 because price has gone and broken your high 1. So it's not a low 2 unless it breaks that. So that's your high 1, that's your low 1. This becomes your low 1 after it creates a new high 2. So when you have L1, L2, H1, H2, you are in a 2-legged pullback. You want the touch of 20, and you want a touch of the previous level, the pivot zone. That's your pivot zone, support, resistance, and boom. So the reason I'm discussing this one is that if you go to Emma's journal, you will see her trade that she nicely took on this, and probably took 2R on that. Here we go. That's her trade she posted in the Discord group. Yeah, look at that. So she hasn't marked those levels up, but if you don't even have the previous levels, just on your M5 chart, you have this level, prices come back to it. But even if you don't pay attention to that, and you simply follow the setup, which is impulse move, and then for a 2-legged pullback, sorry, you need a touch of 20. It's done that, and it's perfect. She could have done 3R on this. Okay, so what's setting up right now? Right now we have a setup 1 setting up. What does it mean? If it's a setup 1 on the 5-minute chart, basically it's going to be a pullback setup on the 30-minute chart or the 15-minute chart. Here we go. So we have a pullback type of setup on this. We have not a correct setup on the 30-minute chart yet, but if this candle closes here, it's going to be a seed, and that could be something. So we already see a gray one, which is a preemptive signal, kind of tells you to get ready. And ideally, if this high was broken and then it came down and closed as bear, then that would be a very nice signal. But watch that it's away from the 10 EMA, so it's a little bit far for us. But we want to catch this first one. So if you were to take this over here, your stop loss would be up there, 10 points. That's your setup 1. Let's go to euro dollar. So before we go to the 5-minute chart, we look at the hourly chart and we analyze where is price, where did it come from, where is it going to go, right? So where did it come from? Well, it did break the previous lows yesterday, but could not sustain it. And even during the night, you see this is the change over time, the spread hours comes to it, new orders are kicked in and price goes up. What is the probability that price will come back to it? That's one. And what is the probability that when it comes back to it, it's going to bounce against it? Very high. And this is what, particularly for Forex, it just happens all the time. So don't ignore these levels. So what do we see? We have a trend candle, and the low of the trend candle is very close to the previous levels. So it will become iffy. So we want some distance between the levels. So there's a little play. So if we go to the 5-minute chart, even then, and I saw this and I did not take this trade because I wasn't sure about these levels. But if you look at this, you have candle, 2 signal, and then the next candle, and this is what I didn't like, is that it kind of went up into this range again. That's not a big problem, but I have wicks. I'm seeing that. And more importantly is this picture here. So price is very close to the next available resistance, a support in this case, and then even the next one. So if there was a little bit of space, then we would have taken it. If I took it, most probably, oh, it didn't hit, or maybe it would be. It could be that it turned into a break-even because at 1 hour stop loss will be moved to break-even, or maybe it just hit 2 hour at the level. So yeah, even if you took this, because there is some impulse move going on, still pretty good. Now let's go to the dollar yen chart. Ooh. Okay, so dollar yen really nicely moved. But before we look into this candle, do you think it's a trend candle? No, it's just a bear candle. But on its own, it's actually a 2-candle pullback. It's not shown on this because there's a filter of MA crossover for us. But so my analysis on UJ was that it's a wider range, and that's because it's doing this. It did this beautiful move up, and now it's going to consolidate and go sideways. So we have these 2 days of price move up, and now it's probably going to go sideways, and that's the wide range that we are looking at. So the range is wide, which means that 5-minute can be traded. Now if this candle kind of stopped here and then gave us a pause and then continued, we would have seen a nice lovely setup. But if I put a line here or just mark it, it would be difficult for me to take because that was the signal, and before that we only have 1 candle, and when that candle happens we have this level to contend, right? So if I take a trade here, it's going to be risky, but my risk is just 5 points, right? And if you followed the 10 EMA, then that's 1:7, because that's 35. But let's suppose you didn't take that, or if you take it here and you trail the candles, you still have 1:4 at least. I then took a trade here, by the way. Now, this is not ideal because this is not that setup, the pullback that we're looking for. This is actually a setup of, let's say, a 10-minute chart, because I'm seeing a flag. So basically it's a flag setup. So if you're into flags and stuff, then this is a setup. And entries were available either at the break of the flag, so around here, or at the close of this candle. But for me, this was the candle. So I have, it's kind of a complex pullback. So you have 1, 2, 3, ABC, and then you have a confirmation, a very strong candle, and I took the trade here, and stop loss up there. Stop loss was only 4. I wasn't really sure about this, so risk taken was only a quarter, so I let it run, and I kind of forgot about it, and then I realized it was doing 4R here, but I did not take the profit, and then I took it here, so it was like a 2R, but just a 0.5% profit on this. A very good trade. And what's this blue line zone? Is this. And I had drawn this before because I saw this. You know, when you see this cluster, it's not there as just a coincidence. No, something's happening. There are levels there. There are, you know, exchanges are made. Let's say trades are made. Whatever is happening, that's where support and resistance. That's where supply and demand is happening. And it's not too far in time, so probably those levels are still there. Those buyers and sellers are still there. And this then proves it. Yes, here again, the buyers won. This method on its own, if you just follow 3 pairs, EU, GU, UJ, this is enough. But we have this as well. On the DAX, we look at the 1 minute chart. Today was really boring. Nothing happened. But the beauty of our method is that we don't get tempted. We don't take these trades. I mean, this one was tempting, but rules are not met. And what is the rule? Well, here, 10 o'clock or the 8 a.m. UK Open. When this happened, my call in the Discord was, okay, I'm waiting for sell setups, because I would like to see another couple of black candles like this and then a setup. Turns around, and this is the H1 level. Let's go to the H1. See this level? It was that. And I'm saying, okay, let's see. It goes up, starts to go up around here. I made the call looking for long setups, and then immediately I retracted and I said, no, I'm not, because I can see levels. So then I thought, okay, now I have a level underneath, a level above. It's a trading range. Even over here, I said it's a trading range because, you know, this failed to break. I'm going to wait for either this level to be broken or this to be broken. When that happens, your job is simple. Just wait. Wait. Comes here. Talked about this. Very enticing. But look, we have levels to the left. And guess what? It would have been just a waste of time on this, right? You don't want to expose your equity to lower probability events. It's wiki. The volatility is low. You can see there are gaps, you know, between candles. That doesn't give me confidence. Then it breaks it. It breaks it, but not with style. Look, it's very gappy. So that means there's these gaps are not a sign of something greatness. This is basically it's very thin. That's why it's happening. And then it does a very deep pullback. What does deep pullback mean? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What does that mean? That means 2 M5 candles. So interesting stuff happens. This is also one of my favorite setups. So going along with the same concept of the H1 M5, the one that I discussed with EU, GU, UJ. Now think about this. This is your range. Tries to break it, goes up. So it's inside range, you don't trade. But then these 2 candles, it's broken it. And then what are these 2 candles? It's the retest of the previous levels. Let's go to the hourly chart. See these levels that are marked with that zone. Comes back to it, gives me a 2. The 2 that touches the 10. It's a declining, dropping 10 and 20, separated, impulse candles, pull back. You have 11 or 10 stop loss. If you go with 3R, it was, look at it, it's easy, if I may say so. But I was on the 1 minute chart. Now, when I see this pattern on the 1 minute chart, exactly like I talked about here, see on this was a little bit sideways, right? Because that would be a setup for, see, not on the 15 minute chart, because that's too short. But if there was a 10 minute chart, you would have seen a nice something. Let me bring the 10 minute chart. Okay, let's have a look at the trading view. So on trading view, the first thing that came is AMD, right? Look at this. So what is it? This is that wedge pattern, but it's daily chart, so it's expanded. If I take you to the weekly chart, what do we see? A two-legged pullback. And that's why I am long on AMD from 105, 107, and then when it came back to 100 a bit more, and 105 a bit more, and we are running it. So if let's go to USD yen, and we go to the 10-minute chart. That's the 10-minute chart. Look at this. See, on the 5-minute chart, we have the two-legged pullback going on. Let's mark it. So it's this flag. That's the flag pattern. So this is your, what's it called, the post. And that's the flag, right? So if I go to the 10-minute chart, it has become 1, 2, 3, 4 candle pullback. This would be a nice, lovely, there would be a 2 here if it's on a 10-minute chart on the MT4. And what does that mean? Well, that means that, let's do a short position. So if your stop loss is above that candle, you have hit 2R over here, but you've also hit 3R. 3R is a very good target for this, because 3R means that if you consistently keep looking for 3Rs, then you could have like 3 losers in a row and 1 winner will cover all of those. And then if you have 2 winners in a row, you are far ahead. And if you have 3 winners in a row, you're 9R there, and you now have a cushion of 3, 4, 5 losing trades in a row, and you still will be up. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful position to be in. So now if we look at the dollar yen right now, would I take this trade? No, I wouldn't. Why? Because there's no story behind it. Our story was this. Now if I take this, this would be basically trying to trade or trying to bet that it's in a trading range and now it's going to go from here all the way up there. I don't like that story. What I want, ideally, is I want to be on the hourly chart. I want to see the pronounced levels, and then ideally I want a range, and then I want a breakout of the range with a trend candle, which sits nicely with the concept of the Lobot method, which looks for, question number 1 is impulse move, or is there a trend? So here what we see is the pound dollar has created kind of a sideways consolidation, which can be considered as a setup 1, like the one we talked about earlier. Let me show you the setup 1, if there is one. So that's the pound dollar here on the 10-minute chart. Let's go to the 5-minute chart. We most probably, no, probably not. Let's have a look. Yeah, not yet ready, but on a 3-minute chart, we have a setup 1. On a 2-minute chart, it's too expanded. This is the 3-minute chart. There was a setup 1, but it's kind of like that. 10-minute chart is basically the end of a wave. It's going into sideways. On the 5-minute chart, I can clearly see it's going into a wave 4. And that's what we see over here. So I would mark this with something like, because once I see this level, and then there's another equal level here, and that's my zone, right? That's my higher zone. And then when I see 2 levels here, so this level failed here, retested here and failed, so that means this is my other level. So what is this now? No matter what you call it, for me, this is a trading range. On this time frame, it's a trading range. And then what is a setup 1 then? What a setup 1 does is that when this happens and then price starts to go up, and then there's this very tight trading range above the high of this range, then we go short on that, and we're betting that it's going to go past this level as well. Okay, one last thing. So basically, based on all of that concept that we discussed in this video, the one and the earlier video on the FX H1M5, which will be in the forum to have a look at it, and yesterday's 25-minute video. Now I want to show you this. So that's the US 100. What did I see here? Well, 2 things. I know that it's in a trading range. I know that I have very clear support levels here. Then I know that I've seen a trend candle here. Let's put a level here, a line. And if I go to the 5-minute chart, this is that trend candle. This is that trend candle. So the trend candle continued into the next candle as well. So you see here, the red line is on this candle, but that indicates the end of this candle. See the time? 12. So the trend continued for another 5 minutes into the new top of the hour, so 12:05, and then it started to pull back, and at 12:30, so 30 minutes into the next candle, I received a signal. I put a pending order on this with a 3R target, which was wrong because I have clearly seen my levels here, but I was still being greedy and I put a 3R target, which was here. Ideally, I should have just put a 2R target because I have clear levels here, right? But around this time, I did my breakfast, came back, saw it here. I was very, very tempted, and this was a good decision actually. I saw it and I thought, oh, look at that. So it's at the support, and I've hit 2R already, just bank it. And then I thought, you know what? I was going for 3R, so let's try it. But I didn't want to give it all back, so I put the trail candle button on, which trailed it here, and it kind of slipped a bit. So I got 1.8R on this. And that's the end of the story. See you after New York session.